Hey there, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'll show you how to easily create this simple camping scene in Unreal Engine 5. If you're just starting out, don't worry, I will guide you through everything step by step so you can be able to create this scene very easily and very quickly. Be sure to check out the description for more useful videos that may help you out, and without further ado, let's start creating. We can start with a third-person template, so go to Games and select third-person, and you can go first-person if you want, it doesn't matter. I just like my third-person view, and name it over here. We are in a third-person template. If you are a beginner in Unreal Engine 5, I have a video in the description that will help you with a basic editor and interface. But if you don't want to watch this video, I can show you very quickly. You hold right mouse button, W, S, A, and D while holding right mouse button to move around, Q and E to go up and down, and while you are holding the right mouse button, you can mouse wheel up and down to be faster. We will cover other things that we need while we are doing this video. If you don't have the interface like mine, you can always go to Window, go to Load Layout and click this default editor layout, and we will have the same editor layout. So now you can press Ctrl and space to get this content drawer and click here Dock in Layout. And it will be docked in layout. If you go again Ctrl and space, you will have everything over here. I like to keep this like this. Quick tip is go to settings and go to engine scalability settings, and I have this on cinematic, which is super high, so I will go with high. If you have some problems with Unreal Engine with some lags and something like that, you can always reduce the scalability so you can work easily. The first thing I like to do is go to File, New Level, and over here you can see different types of levels. We'll go with basic since we are doing this quick and basic tutorial. Already comes with all the lighting and the floor and the clouds and sky and so on, so hit create. And now very important thing is that you go here, save the current level to disk, because Unreal doesn't save your level, and if something happens, if we will lost everything. So go level 1, hit save, and we have our level, and we are now ready to rumble, and we are now ready to go. Of course, we don't need this floor because we will use the landscape. So select floor with your left mouse button and hit delete on keyboard. And go over here under the selection mode, you can choose between selection and the landscape. Let's go to landscape mode. And over here on the left side, you can see some options. Don't worry about all these numbers here, it doesn't matter because we already have this size of our level, so you can always start with this size. Keep these perimeters like this, hit create. So the next thing is that we want to add some material to our landscape. To do that, we will go to our window and go to Fab. If you don't have a Fab, go to Edit, Plugins, and type in Fab. And you need to have this Fab plugin enabled, so we can close this. So go Window, go to Fab, and it will open it up. And over here we will type in ground or forest ground or something like that, and make sure that price is free. And over here we have lots and lots of items, but we need the materials. So we go to material and texture and sort it out. And over here you can see this forest landscape material. You can click it, and we are back to Project Nature because somehow I always end up in a Project Nature's profile, and I really love this because they have lots and lots of free and awesome assets to work with. So we will work with the Project Nature assets as we speak. Now if you click on their profile, you can see lots and lots of free assets that we can use, and they're all great. So we need ground, and we need some trees and grasses and so on, and this comes just handy, this temperate vegetation spruce forest. Spruce Springsteen. Never mind. Just click add to project, and it will say that asset is not compatible. It is, but we need to go over here and choose this closest version, 5.4. I'm using, at the time of recording this, I'm using 5.5 Unreal Engine version. So choose the closest possible version and click add to project, and it will download everything to your level. And if you go over here on the left side, you can see this PN Interactive Spruce Forest. It will download it here. So what we need to do, I like go to the selection tool and select the landscape on the right side and go to the interactive spruce forest downloaded folder. And if you want to remove these filters over here, you don't need them, just click here and click over here reset filters. And now we go to the materials. We need materials and we need the ground material. We don't touch master materials and material functions because we have material instances, so to say a variation of a master material, but it has all the options available, so we don't need go to, for example, to the master material, open it up and see all these kind of things. We don't care about this, and the guys at the project nature make this easy, because if we go to materials and material instances and you can see ground, and if you open it up you can see that we have options on the right side of this material. We don't need to go to the master material at all. We only have this, and this is great. I will put this on top of the Unreal, so we'll go back to this material later. But important is that you select your landscape, scroll a little bit down, and you can see landscape material, and just drag and drop the material to the landscape. And we have awesome material. So go Ctrl Shift and S to save everything. If you want to change the tiling, for example, go to the material instance and change tiling, for example 0.1, and it will immediately change the size of the texture. If you go 0.5 it will be smaller, so let's go with 0.2. This is the default, so we'll change this accordingly later. I recommend that you keep this ambient occlusion and brightness. If you enable this brightness, our material is now more realistic, and if you remove this it's too bright. So make sure that everything is as it is, and now it's a good time to go Ctrl Shift and S to save everything. So if I click play this level, we are playing level from this position here, and this is our player start. If you go to player start, you can see that location 0092. You can keep this as it is, and we will organize the scene around this starting position here. So we can move the camera a little bit out, and one good trick is if you press Ctrl 1, you can bookmark this view. For example, Ctrl 1, it will bookmark this view, and if you go over here and press Ctrl 2, it will bookmark this view. So you can switch between those two views by pressing 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Okay, we have our ground. Now let's make some forest. Go back to the interactive spruce forest and go to the meshes and go to the full, and we have low and high. If you go to low, this will be a low resolution, so we can use this low res if you want, or we can use high resolution, but I think that this low resolution is just fine. Now let's add trees. We can add trees like this, drag and drop it here, move a little bit up, and if you press end on your keyboard it will automatically fall down to the level. But we want to paint the forest, and to do that we'll need go to the foliage mode. Go to foliage mode, and over here we will drop foliage. So let's say we want to paint this tree that we just added. Just drag and drop your tree over here, but don't forget that we need to go right click and click nanite and enable nanite. This will greatly improve our performance and make everything cool. So let's go. If we want to paint, click too much, we need to change the density, so we select our tree and we'll go a little bit down and change the density to be 5, for example. And now if we paint how we want, but you can see that if we paint, we can paint on the top of another tree. So undo everything and make sure to disable this align to normal. This means if you go to landscape and go to sculpt, and we sculpt, for example, a hill like this, and we go back to the foliage tool, and we want to paint everything, you can see how trees are going to follow the path of our hill. So we will undo this, and if you click here, do not align to normal, it will always point upwards and be more realistic. So let's undo everything and go back over here and click over here filters and place foliage on landscapes. We want to place this foliage only on the landscape. So we don't want to place on static meshes, because this is a static mesh, and if you put another tree on one another, this is not what we want to do. So to avoid this problem, we will disable these static meshes and this BSP. So we can always paint forest like this, but it's super dense. So we'll reduce the density to be, for example, 1. Paint it here. We can increase the brush size and make the forest around our player start position. And if we click play, we can see forest over here. So to make our center of our scene, we go back to Fab. Let's, for example, type in over here fire pit and find this stone fireplace and click add to project. So go back and we will find this stone fireplace. I already downloaded a few of them, but they are really bad. So let's go with the stone fireplace. This is a okay 3D model for our use. So press E on your keyboard to rotate this fireplace like this. Press W to move it up and down. And let's go back with E to rotate it even more. Now just play until you find the right position. For example, like this. And you want to hit R on keyboard and reduce it. And go everything from the beginning. If we click play, I think this fireplace is just okay in size. And later we will add some fire to our fireplace so it will look good. Make sure to save everything with Ctrl Shift and S. Now we have a central position, and let's now add more forest in the background. Go back to the foliage. Over here in the left side under interactive spruce forest, we go to meshes, we go to full low resolution, select our tree and paint a little bit more. And we can paint it here around our fireplace. And let's find another tree. We go back to meshes, we go to half and we go to low and we choose this one to paint, for example. Let's drag and drop it to the foliage and make sure to select this, not this, and make sure to uncheck the first one because it will paint the first tree and we want to paint only this one. So if we click and paint, it's super dense, so we'll undo this. And make sure to right click also to go to nanite. I always forget about this, so enable nanite. And go back and change the density to be 3. Press enter and paint. And if you press 1 on our keyboard, we will go back to our first view and number 2 will be our second view. Go back to meshes and let's go with small. And let's paint some small spruces. So let's go up and drag and drop this one to the foliage and select only this one and change the density to be, for example, 2. And we can paint. Okay, we need to wait for shaders to compile, as always. And go right click and click nanite, enable nanite. Now it looks awesome, and we will paint it here to create one dense forest. If we go 1, we now have simple forest around us. Make sure to save everything, and you can see that we need to add more trees and more everything, but we will now add some objects to our level. You can see that we need to add more trees. We will add this later. But now we will add some assets and make a simple scene over here, and then we will populate with the trees, fix that, and add some grass around. To do that, we will go to Fab and we will find over here camping. And you can see the camping tent here and camping props here. But let me check out the survival. There is some nice survival props here, if I'm not mistaken, by Polypixel, and we will use some of these props. They are awesome. So hit add to project and choose the closest version, add to project. If you get this notification, just click import. And it says that we have some issues with the import, but we don't care, because it's not that important and our assets are ready. And go over here under the survival props and let me go to selection mode so it's easier to see. Go to survival props and click models, and over here we have lots of models that we can import. So we will import tent, this one, and make it bigger. We can change it like this, move it here. And I must say these assets are looking really good. So we have one tent, move the tent, close tent here, add some stove, we can make it bigger, some propane gases here for the stove, this, add pot, add some sticks inside the fireplace, you can add another one, add a bit rope here, we can duplicate this. My recommendation, if you want to have everything a little bit realistic, just make it, don't just throw it on the level to be flat on the level. Move it a little bit here and here, and it will add a little more realism to it, because not everything is so flat on the floor, for example, like this. Okay, this is super realistic, so we need to fix it. And play with the positions of the assets. We can position the asset here. Okay, this is one big pot, and we can later add some fire if you want to add here in the pot. So make sure to save everything, and let's add a more of these props. We can duplicate by holding Alt. It's not a good idea to keep your propane gas around the pot. Don't do this in reality. This is just for a tutorial. Okay, now let's add one duffel bag. Campfire. Okay, we have a campfire here, so you can use a campfire if you want. And this campfire is looking even better. So I'll delete this and use this campfire for our purposes. It looks awesome. A little bit inside. We can also drop some cans here. Hit End to drop it down. And let's add more objects. We can add few rocks around our campfire to make it even better, and around stove, add more rope. Okay, we can save this, and we have a small scene here. Just reduce the size of a tent and position tent. And we have some super basic camp organization. And what we need to do now, you can see that we now need to add more forest. So go back to our foliage and select everything and deselect everything, and now select the first one and paint a little bit here. We can reduce the brush size. We can paint it here. If you want to have a different size of your trees, you can always go down and change the scale min and max, for example 0.6 to 1. So it will go between 0.6 and 1, and it will make this forest look better. Close this here and go again 1 and close it here. Okay, we can remove a few of these trees. And now let's add the second trees here and there, like this. Let's add these small ones. Make sure to deselect this one and select only the small one. Like this. This is a little bit too much, so select the first one and shift and click to delete. So make sure to save everything with Ctrl S. And now we need to add grass to our level. So let's go back to the fab, go back to the project nature's profile, and over here we will download some vegetation. If you want, you can add some berries, some ground plants and something like that, but we need to add just some foliage like this. So we will choose the temperate vegetation foliage collection and click add to project. Choose the closest version and hit add to project, and you can see it's a problem. It won't add to the project. If you run into this problem, make sure to save everything and restart your Unreal Engine. And after you restart your engine, try now, hit add to project and choose the closest version. If you have problem, click this here, add to my library, and view in the library and click now add to project, and now it's downloading the asset. So if you have a problems, try to add asset into your library and then import it into a project. And we can see that I imported wrong grass, but no matter what, I think this looks just fine. We can always import another grass so we can combine them. So my mistake, but let's see how it will work with this. So let's back to content, let's go back to our level, click this grass library, we go to meshes, grass, and we have lots of different grasses here. Go back to the foliage, and now let's add some grass to our level. There's a lots of nice grass here actually, so this is super awesome. We will add, for example, this one, and hold Ctrl, this one, so we go with this one and go with like 4 or 5 of them, and now right click and nanite, enable nanite, and while they are selected, just drag and drop them to the foliage type. Make sure to go Ctrl A and check out if every single of them is selected. Okay, and now we paint this grass here, and it looks super cool. This is cool actually, guys. So let's pump the density, so select the first and the last one and change the density to 200, 300, and this looks good. So let's paint it here around our level. Go a little bit inside the forest, you don't need to go super deep. Now our sun is, something is wrong with the sun. Let's Ctrl L and move this sun a little bit in the other direction. It's too bright here. Our grass is looking just okay. Let's save everything, and let's change the brush size, reduce the brush size so we can paint around our props. And you can see that it's only paint on the landscape. It won't paint on static meshes, so you can paint through this and it will paint only on the landscape. I think it won't go inside the mesh, so this is just super awesome. If you ask me, very nice thing. So we paint everywhere here, around the trees, around our tent. We have this nice realistic feeling of the forest, and you can unpaint around here. And this, guys, looks just fine. If I go F11, we can go full screen to preview our scene. And all we need to do now, guys, is to add some fire to the camp. And to do that, we will go to the fab, and over here we will type in fire and go with the price of 3. And over here you can see this perfect fire VFX. Click it, and don't be afraid about the license over here, because we will select the personal license. And it's for individual creator or small team with not more than 100k of revenue or funding in the last 12 months. And click add to project and choose the closest version. After the download is complete, we can go back to the content browser and select this VFX, and you can see this free fire. Go over here under the shared, go to particles, and we just want to drag and drop, for example, this fire big. And let's go back to selection mode, and the fire is here, and it's super big, but it looks awesome. Just find this NS fire small smoke and drag and drop it here, and it will add a small fire to our fire pit. You can choose different effects over here if you want bigger fire and so on. And you can see that now we have our fire. And now, as you can see, we can also add a little bit more of these grasses. So we will go back to the foliage, and we will go back over here in the grass library, meshes, grass mesh, and we can add this ground mesh. And select first one, Ctrl A to select everything, deselect everything, and select just the first one and make sure to enable it. And we can paint this small grass and also change the paint density to be, for example, 1, and increase this paint density to 1000 to add more of this small grass. I will go with the density to 5000 maybe, to make it even more denser, like this. And now you can draw some patches. Don't add everywhere, just add some patches. patches here, for example here, a little bit on the side of the tent, and add a little bit side over here, and paint a little bit more grass here. I think it will look nicer if we add more denser, smaller grass. The last thing we want to do is to add some mood. Go over here under the selection, and let's change a bit, add some fog and add some lighting and post-process volume. Everything is super easy, guys, I promise. So go here, that says exponential height fog, and you can see fog density down in the details panel, and let's type in 1, and it will add a dense fog, but it's blue, and we want a fog to be a little bit more natural, so we will type in volumetric fog and click it, and now it looks better. And now if we go, we can cancel this, we can change this fog density to be 0.5. I'm a big fan of fog, so you can expect in my tutorials to be foggy, because I don't know, I just like that, and it adds some cool mood to it. And if we want, we can add a post-process volume. Go over here, quickly add to project, post-process volume, drag and drop it anywhere on your level, because if we select post-process volume and type in unbound, make sure to click this infinite extent unbound. This will now cover the whole level, not just the box here. If you can't see, press G so we can see the box. This post-process volume, if you click this infinite extent, it will affect the whole level, not just the box inside. And let's go to the exposure, and let's click this min and max exposure and to be 1 and 1. Now it looks a little bit darker, so our flames will be more visible. So let's select this flame and position it a little bit more inside. If we go to the post-process volume and go to the midtones here, expand it, we can change, for example, saturation. So you can increase saturation or decrease saturation. I will decrease a little bit this saturation, so it got this post-apocalyptic feel. And we can go with the contrast. You can increase or decrease a little bit of contrast, so I'll decrease the contrast a bit, and you can change the gain, and with this gain we can change the overall atmosphere of our level. You can see if I move it on the left side, right side, we can make it a little bit bluish, reddish, greenish, and so on, and we'll go to be a little bit yellow, and you can change the intensity here to just add a little bit of a yellow to the map. So this scene is a little bit empty, so we will add a few trees over here. We can do this by selecting this interactive spruce forest, go to meshes, and go to small, and for example add this one and make it a little smaller. Also we can add this one here, make sure to enable the nanite as always, and we can go to meshes half, high, and add this big tree here, and we have a problem with this one because we cannot select it. So if you have a problem selecting your tree, make sure to go to the outliner and select it here. So W and position it here. We can make this a bigger tree here and duplicate this tree to be here and make it even bigger. Move it to the level. And I think, guys, that our scene is looking pretty good, but it's a little foggy day, so our you see these shadows are a little bit too harsh, too straight, so we need to change this. We go to the directional light, and over here source angle, so increase the source angle until we have these smooth shadows. You can even change this to 10 or 20, and now our shadows are smooth and we have a nice environment. If I go F11, you can always press G to remove all these helpers, and we have a nice forest. And if we click play from here, and I think the most important part over here, I think that forest looks absolutely gorgeous because we add some fog over there, and I'm really happy about the progress here. And this is it. This is how you easily create a simple camping scene in Unreal Engine 5. I hope you like this video. Drop some comments below if you find this helpful, and subscribe for more content like this. See you in some other video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.